Okay, let's hop into chapter 9 of Stranded. The children just got to the highest point on the island to look for the adults, and they didn't see them. So they think that was a big old waste of a trip looking for them. But then Buzz says he has an idea of what they could do at the top of the mountain. Suddenly, Buzz had everyone looking at him. He even almost forgot that he was going to say for. He even almost forgot what he was going to say for a second. We need to build a signal fire, he told the others. A what? Vanessa said. I've seen it on TV. You know, those shows where they drop some guy off in the middle of nowhere and he can survive all by himself. I've seen a lot of those shows. They're entertaining. Like Man vs. Wild. Carter looked over to him. You watch survival shows? I watch a lot of stuff, he said. That's where his nickname had come from. His father was the first to use it because he said that Benjamin was always watching something or playing something that went crash, bang, or buzz. Buzz didn't mind it. It was better than being called Benjamin, for that matter. Jane and Carter had only even known him as Buzz, and that was just fine with him. The first thing those TV guys always do is build a fire somewhere up high, he went on. Like right here, Jane said. Yeah, that way if a plane or boat comes around. When a plane or boat comes around, Vanessa interrupted. Okay, when that happens, we're going to be way too small to see. But a fire with a bunch of smoke can get their attention. Carter was nodding the whole time and even seemed kind of impressed. Boy, you do watch a lot of TV, don't you? Everyone seemed to be in the middle of into the idea, but so Buzz kept on talking. We're going to need some stuff from the boat, he said, like one of those signal flares in the cockpit and some rope. Dexter had made them all go through hours of safety drills before they left the island, and the coolest part of the training was by far the emergency flares. When you pulled off the cap of it, the top of a flare it was self-ignited into super intense mini torch. On the ocean, they were used for visual signaling, but you could use them to set almost anything on fire. I'll go, Carter said right away. I'm the fastest. Of course you are, Vanessa said. That sounded good to Buzz. And get that axe, too, he said. We're going to need to chop up some big branches. Carter took off like he was in some kind of race, while Jane, Vanessa, and Buzz started collecting materials. It felt good, but also kind of weird to see everyone doing exactly what he told them to do. Buzz wasn't usually the boss of anything in their family, especially not Vanessa or Carter around. We need a bunch of really dry grass, he told the girls, and then some little twigs and the dry branches to top it off. The fire was going to have to be tall, he knew, with room at the bottom for air to circulate. The bigger the stack, the bigger their signal would be when they set it on fire, and better chances of being spotted from far away. Jane ran around and found an amazing amount of stuff to put in the base: dry grass, sticks, and some papery tree bark. Buzz had seen the TV guys use coconut husks before, but the only coconut trees they'd seen so far were all the way down at the beach. Carter was right about being fast, too. He got back and everything they needed just in time to start using the axe. He and Vanessa were also the strongest, so they took turns while the others carried twigs and dead branches over to where Buzz was putting it all together in a pile. It was slow going. A few times the whole structure collapsed in on itself, and Buzz had to start over. At home, with a pitcher of lemonade or even just some shade, it might not be so hard. But out here in the open sun, it felt like he'd sweated through 8 gallons by the time it was done. Just as the sun was heading down toward the horizon, the group put on some finishing touches. First, they wrapped the stack in the biggest, darkest palm fronds they could find. That was something else Buzz had remembered. The green leaves made bright white smoke when they were burned, the kind that would make it easy to spot from a distance. After that, cut some pieces of rope up with the axe, and they tried the whole thing up so the wind wouldn't take it apart while they were gone. Last, Buzz stuck the emergency flare all the way inside at the base of the structure for safekeeping. He hoped it could be the one to set it ablaze when the time came. There, he said, and stood back to look at what they'd done. We're all set. Now all we need is a boat or a plane or a helicopter or anything else that could get them to see that they were on the stupid island. By the time they were all back down at the beach and climbing up in the deck of the boat, Carter had exactly two things on his mind: food and water. "I'm starving," he said. "What do we have to eat?" They all moved straight down the stairs into the galley to start looking for whatever they could find. It was getting dark now, but Vanessa found a flashlight in the navigation station, and that helped. "Hey, look, marshmallows," Buzz said. We've got some cans of beef," Vanessa said. "Chili, ravioli, fruit cocktail." "I'll fill up some cups," Carter told them, and went straight for the water. He pulled away the bench seat covering the tank, picked up a coffee mug from the table, and dipped it in through the hole he'd cut out that morning. But instead of water, all Carter found inside was air. "Hey!" he shouted out. "Where'd it go?" "Where'd what go?" Vanessa said. "The water," he said. "It's just gone." "It can't be," she said, coming over to the flashlight. She shined it into the tank, then didn't say anything for a long time. "What do you see?" Jane finally asked. Vanessa sat down quietly. "He's right. There's a big crack all along the bottom, and one of those pipes is hanging off." The news settled silently over the group. "Maybe it broke when we cut it open with the axe," Buzz said. "Don't blame it on me," Carter told him. "I'm not," he said. "I'm just saying that's what might have happened." Vanessa slammed her fist against the table. "We shouldn't have been gone so long," she said. "If we'd been here, we would have noticed, and we might have been able to do something to stop it." Still, it felt like a whole lot of blame on Carter. He also felt like he was suddenly 3 times thirstier than he'd been a minute ago. "What else do we have to drink?" he said. Jane and Buzz were already on it. They were opening cabinets and looking in the little refrigerator, but so far they didn't find anything. "1 gallon of nasty-smelling milk," Buzz said, taking it out, "and not much else. Some carrots and a bunch of D batteries." "What about outside?" "It's not like we aren't surrounded by water," Carter said. "You can't drink seawater," Jane said. "It's so salty, it'll just make you thirstier, or sick. I forget which. Maybe both." "There were a bunch of juice boxes before, and some sodas," Vanessa said. "I'm positive. We finished the sodas on the second day," Buzz said. It was true. Dexter had made a big deal about bringing soda at all, since it was so heavy and took up a lot of room. The juice boxes at least were lighter, and would be able to crush them when they were empty. But that also meant they would have easily been washed away in the crash and the flood. Carter looked around. A lot of provisions, which is like food or drink, had been lost. He felt ready to start tearing the boat apart piece by piece. He'd never cared about stupid juice boxes before, but he would have traded his BMX bikes just to find one right now. "This is unbelievable." The longer the day went on, the worse it got. The whole thing was starting to seem like the world's stupidest problem. Who got shipwrecked anymore? Dexter said. Dexter was supposed to watch out for them. Where is he now? He could have. They could. They. How could they just leave us on our own like this? He blurted out. "Who?" Vanessa asked. "Dexter and Joe." "Yeah, Dexter and Joe." "They didn't do it on purpose," Buzz said. "It was just an accident." But Carter didn't want to hear it, especially not from Buzz, sitting there with a big bag of marshmallows like he was on a camping trip. "You're not much help either," he said. "Where were you when the boat crashed last night?" "I was trying to steer," Buzz yelled back at him. "Yeah, trying. Exactly," he said. "And when you were crashing the boat, I was saving our sister from going overboard." He was starting to say stuff he knew he shouldn't, but sometimes it was hard to stop once he got going. "Vanessa's your sister now, too," Jane told Carter. "Yeah," Buzz said, "and it wasn't me who crashed the stupid boat." "Have another marshmallow, Buzz." Carter felt ready to hit something or explode or both. It seemed like everyone was ganging up on him, even Jane. "Don't talk to him like that," Vanessa said, "and stop acting like a little kid. You want to have a temper tantrum? Go do it somewhere else." He glared over at her. She wanted him to go somewhere else. Fine with him. His mother was always telling him to count to 10 when he got mad, so he always counted his steps, right out of the gallery and up onto the deck. When he got up there to the bow of the boat, he just kept going, onto the rocks, then down to the beach. That's when he started running. Vanessa and the others were calling after him. But he didn't care. He just needed to get away, and as fast and as far as he could. He was crying now, too, like a baby. He hadn't cried all day, not even once, but he couldn't hold it back anymore. The tears just kept coming, streaking across his cheeks and sprinting farther and farther up the beach. At least there wasn't anyone to see it. Finally, he couldn't run anymore. His knees buckled, and he rolled to a stop right there in the sand, panting and trying to catch his breath, and thinking about the others. Sometimes he wasn't sure why he got so mad. He just did. One thing piled up on top of the other, and he just lashed out. Usually at Buzz, he was an easy target, but this wasn't Buzz's fault, he knew. It wasn't anyone's fault. It was just bad luck. The same as he'd been having all year long. A year ago, it seemed like his biggest problem was moving away from the old house, changing schools, and dealing with Vanessa's know-it-all attitude 24/7. Now, all of that seemed like a joke in comparison to being stranded in the middle of nowhere. There were no adults here to help, and someone had to take charge. There was so much they needed to do. They needed to find water if they were going to last. They needed to start keeping watch for the rescue planes. They needed, all of a sudden, a loud rustling noise from the woods pulled Carter right out of his thoughts. His heart jumped back of full speed as he listened. Something was there, something big. From the sound of it, he heard twigs breaking and underbrush beginning to go being pushed aside. In fact, it wasn't just one thing. He realized it was a group of them, a group of something. And they were right there, maybe 20 feet in the woods. Carter stayed low in the sand and as still as possible. What was it Jane had said about the wild animals? He couldn't remember. He hadn't been listening. But now he wished he had. The next sound he heard was the soft snorting, or a sniffing, like maybe one of them had just picked up his scent. Almost right away, the others joined him. Without a weapon or even a flashlight, Carter started to feel like a giant target sitting there in the dark. Who knew how many of them there were? How outnumbered he might be? Maybe this place was full of predators or whatever they were roaming the island at night. As the rustling in the woods grew louder and the time went on, one clear thought rose through his head. Time to go. The words went off into his mind like a starter pistol. Carter sprang to his feet, ducked his chin, and ran. He didn't look over his shoulder once. He just sprinted all the way back to the boat like his life depended on it, which maybe it did, and maybe it didn't. But this was no place to be taking chances. I wonder what was chasing him. All right. You got your cover page, Chapter 7, Chapter 8, and now you guys can go ahead and write a little recap of Chapter 9. I like one of my favorites so far. Told me a lot about Carter. And then draw a little picture. You can even think of what animal you want to be chasing him, or something like that. All right. And I want you guys to think of a synonym and antonym for the word beautiful. So, and ask your family, hey, what's a synonym for beautiful? And that means the same thing. So what's another word that means the same meaning as beautiful? And then an antonym is the opposite. What's the word that means the opposite of beautiful? So think about that. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'll see you guys in the next one. And I'm probably going to post another video here shortly showing off my 3D prints. I think you guys will like it. All right. Bye.